Hi, this sequence is to help better shoulder girdle organization and tie it back into proximal control with the abdominals. So a classic exercise would be the plank, but I'm going to show some variations of standing and then work down towards the plank. So our first sequence is using the wall. Before I start using the wall though, I may have done some work to stabilize scapula. I might have done some rotator cuff exercises. I might have done some wall squats to check out how to get proximal control, of showing me how to find posterior tilt to get into good abdominal connection. I may have also done some swaying on the feet to give me this idea of knowing how to transfer the body, swaying forwards and back and swaying from side to side, but staying in a straight line so I'm not wibbly wobbly. So my first exercise I'm going to turn around is just to do a little bit of stabilization and shift the body side to side. So I've got my hands on the wall, I've got my feet on the floor, and then I'm just going to feel that I shift a little bit and shift a little bit side to side. I'm maintaining my core integrity by keeping my abdominals organized. I'm staying in that posterior tilt. I'm moving from side to side. Hands wider, just changes. Hands narrower, changes. I'm not saying that hands wide or hands narrow are easy or better. It's just different angles. So it's just those very simple shifting. Again, just letting the body feel what it has to do to organize against the load. I'm just moving my mat out the way. So my second sequence is I'm going to just sort of shift up and down. So again, if I've done my calf stretches, that would have also already prepped me. So from here, hands on the wall, feet fairly narrow. I'm organising a plank. I've got to organise proximal control in the tummy. And then I'm just going to let the heels go up and let the heels go down. Heels go up, heels go down. So I'm shifting up and down now. And again, I'm feeling that I'm pulling my hands down the wall, which helps me get into this control at the back of my armpits. I'm actually sort of feeling that I'm dragging my hand down the wall to help pull me up. Good. So with that sequence, I can then start to go into some shoulder taps. But what's really important with shoulder taps, tap one, tap the other shoulder, is that I don't have any movement patterning. As soon as I've got some movement, I'm not actually doing the exercise of any value to it. It's just something else is going on. It feels like hard work, but normally all that happens is that you're just tensing up your tendons and you're not connecting through your muscles. So starting with the hands on the wall, again, I've just taken my feet away to load up. The further you're into the wall, the easier it is. The feet further away, the harder it is. I've got to go into my proximal control. And now from here, I've just got to take one hand off, tap the shoulder, place it down, tap. Now to do that, stuff's happening with my glutes, stuff's happening in my core as I shift. To make it a little bit easier, you can take the feet wider. So with the feet wider, that's going to give me a little bit more stability. With the feet narrow, it's going to give me a little bit more challenge because I have less base of support. I have to feel my trunk respond, my core respond to keep me stable. My diagonal slings are responding to keep me stable. Again, you could do this with hands fairly wide. Again, it's not so much hands wide, hands narrow. It's going to make it harder or easier. It's just different. But definitely feet wide will make it easier. Feet very narrow will make it a very challenging exercise. So that whole sequence of taps, shifts, can work at different levels. I could bring it down, I could just drag my table into view. So I could do the whole sort of thing with my hands on the table. I've got to make sure I've got good trunk, abdominal control, and I can be shifting from side to side. I'm going to show you on a chair. So with the chair, I'm going to put my mat back on the floor. I'm going to put the chair on the mat so it doesn't slide around. Again, whenever you're working with props, always make sure they're going to not go all over the place. I'm going to move my camera down a little bit now. Oops, I will do in a second. Oh, here it is. That's it, now we can see me on the chair. So, hands on the chair, I'm going to wrap mine around the outside of the chair. That helps the wrist and also helps the external rotation into the lats. And I'm setting up into my plank. I've got to think about tummy. I've got to be controlled. So if you notice I'm going into posterior tilt. And then I'm going to do my shifting forwards and back. Again, if I've done the calf work, stretching on the wall, I know how to do this patterning. Don't let your body sink between your armpits. Again, the work with the overball on the wall helps you find the right muscles. I can now go from side to side, shifting from side to side. So I'm working proximal control through the trunk, through my abdominals, and working stabilising through my shoulders. I'm going to come down onto the floor now. I'm not going to do the shoulder taps on this. Now on the floor, you can do this as I'm going to bring my camera down to the ground now. That's it. Now on the floor, you could do this as an elbow plank sequence. With the elbow plank sequence, I rotate out, palms facing up. So I'm setting up. I'm going to make sure I'm connected into my abdominals first of all. I'm going to stretch out. Here's my positioning. Make sure you're not dropping between your chest. Keep your shoulders organised. And I'm going to go from side to side. Doesn't matter if you start side to side or forwards and back. Probably going to do about 5 and rest. I might go to child rest position between each set. Now I'm setting up for the forward and back shifting pattern. So again, proximal trunk control, and I'm shifting forwards and back. I'm trying to think straight line all the time between my heels and the crown, the top of my head, as I shift forwards and back. And again, could go into a brief child rest position. Now for the tapping, so that sequence of being on your elbows in the elbow plank also works really well with your elbows on a Swiss ball. I don't have a Swiss ball. It's quite a challenge, but it's very accurate in teaching the body what to do. So the hands on the Swiss ball, the elbows on the Swiss ball, either shifting forwards and back or side to side or even around in a circle, can really help let the body know where it should work from. Now my sequence of my shoulder taps, I'm going to do it in box position. So I'm setting up in good box position. I'm going to start with my knees wide. That gives me a little bit more ease. And then I'm just tapping. I have to find proximal control. I've got to find the setting of the scapula and then swap and swap and swap. I'm going to come round to face you now. So I'm here. I'm going to have symmetry in the body. I've got my knees fairly wide, again a wider base of support, good control from the tummy, and then just tap, find that connection, tap, find that connection, tap. So the connection I'm finding is everything I work with my scapular setting and my rotator cuff muscle group to help keep everything in control. But I'm just doing it more casually and swinging from side to side. I'm not finding that information the body needs to really show how to strengthen and control through here. I'm going to bring my knees in a little bit narrower. So again, when I've got my knees in narrow, that's going to give me a little bit more challenge to keep everything stable. I'm really having to work hard for my isometric connections into my shoulders to keep everything stable. Of course, this is often then taken into pointer dog. So I'm just going to slide forwards and slide back, arm forward and arm back. Notice it's not all over the place. For my Pilates, I've got to be very much connected into my core, and I've got to have no shifting going on. We could do it really casually, but I'm not really getting the benefits from that patterning. So again, we could take it into the legs. So taking the leg out, I've got to make sure I'm not shifting my body weight from side to side. I'm going to go slightly onto the diagonal so you can see me. And I think glide, 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 glide the leg out, not lift it. I'm thinking glide, glide, glide the leg out, not lift it. So as I start moving that leg away, my trunk has to control and I can feel my shoulders respond. If I've got sloppy shoulders, nothing's really happening. I'm just putting stress through my body. I'm not really teaching it to get stronger. We can put those two movement patterns together. Glide and then float back in, glide, reach out, come back in. I'm looking for the control from my diagonal slings as I work opposite arm, opposite leg. And again, I must work with a lot of control. I'm getting my breath to soften because I've been chatting and holding my diaphragm, so I'm just going to let my diaphragm soften. Here I go, breath in, breathing. Again, I'm just going to set up my breath a little bit. And that now brings me very much into my trunk proximal control, which is our feature of Pilates. I don't want to just be doing arm opposite leg all over the place. I need to be setting my diagonal slings. Thank you very much for watching.